Now, to finalize our bot climbing example, what I'm going to do is just show you how to add in some shimmying moves and how to dismount from the hanging as well. So we can walk up to this bar and climb up over the top at any point along the container. But what if we want to hang and actually shimmy along in one direction and shimmy along in the other direction? So in the file that you downloaded at the beginning of this little series, there'll be a shimmy left and a shimmy right animations, and they're just here. So grab hold of the shimmy left. Let's bring that in to our animator. We also need to add 2 parameters for these shimmying. So let's add in a trigger for shimmy left, and we'll also add in another one while we're here for shimmy right. So while we're doing that, we might as well bring the right one in as well. Okay, so our transition from hanging to shimmy left will have a condition on it that shimmy left has been triggered. And at the same time, let's get rid of our has exit time. And then once we've done one shimmy, we're actually going to make a transition and go back to hanging idle. Now we'll do the same thing for our shimmy right, is make a transition. On that transition, the condition is a shimmy right being triggered, turn off our exit time, and then just automatically go back to hanging idle. Now, we're going to put some keystrokes in the code to control these two. So we'll use the A and the D keys to go left and right. So open up your climb up code, which is controlling everything, and we'll go down into our code below where we've got the W key, which is our climbing one, and add in this. So I've already got the first part for the shimmy left. So we're saying if we press the A key and we're hanging, then we will shimmy left. And we can also add in, just copy and paste that below, and we can put the one for the right in at the same time. So if it's a D, we will shimmy right. Okay, so they're the 2 triggers for going in either direction. So save that and go back to Unity, and let's run and have a look what happens. Okay, so we're going to walk up to the container. We're going to jump. Now we're going to try and shimmy left. We use the A key. Now what's happening here is that the shimmy left is working. If we try the right one, okay, the right one's doing a little bit different. We'll fix that in a moment. But what you'll notice is that the bot's not going anywhere. Now, the reason the bot's not going anywhere is because that lerp is still acting to bring the bot back to the position that our imaginary cube is at, which is our anchor position. So we essentially want to turn that part of the code off if we're in the middle of doing a shimmy, so that the anchor won't keep pulling us back to that same spot. So back into the code, we need another Boolean value to say whether we're shimmying or not, because we can't change our is hanging to false because we are actually still hanging. So let's go right to the top of the code, and underneath is hanging, we'll add another one, another bool. Bool is shimmy equals false because we're not shimmying at that point. But then down where we've triggered our animations, down here, we also want to set is shimmy to equal true there after we've gone left, and copy that and also do that for the right. Now, once you've got that there, we're going to use this is shimmy Boolean value up with our lerp function. So if we go back up to our lerp here, remember that if we don't have a root target, we won't do any lerping. But we're going to say if we don't have a root target, or, which is to up pipe symbols, and they on my keyboard are a shift and the key that is above the return key. That's on a Mac keyboard, and I think it's in the same place on a Windows machine as well. Now, if where or is shimmying, so if is shimmy is true, it's not going to do our lerp. So that should fix that bit of a issue with the bot not moving along as we shimmy. So let's just save that. Go back to Unity and run it. And we'll just wander up to here, jump up, press the A key, and now we are actually shimmying across. Now, if we press the D key, we are shimmying across, but notice how the bot's actually going up and is becoming unaligned here as well. The first issue with that is if we look at the difference between the left and the right shimmying for the bake poses. So this is the left shimmy. If we go down and have a look, we're baking in the transform for the rotation, and we're baking in the Y position, which is the up and down. And I've actually got it set at the feet. So this particular shimmying action isn't all that fluid with the hanging idle. So your character actually gets lifted up a little bit, and there's not a lot of tricks you can do to really fix that properly. So by setting the Y position to bake it at the character's feet, it kind of works quite well. And then there's nothing set for the XZ for baking that on the left. So if we go to the right, let's have a look. So there's nothing currently set, so we're not baking anything. So let's bake the rotation in. Let's bake the Y and set that to the feet. And we will leave the XZ out and apply that. Right, so now let's just run that and have a look at our left and right. So we go up, jump up, right, not too bad, and left. Now at this point, it really is a matter of making this bar that your bot is hanging onto and making it a bit wider, making it look like he's still got grabbing it when he goes over this way, because that's kind of the only way you're going to really fix this, unless you went back into the source of your animations and fixed all of the alignment between these different animations. And you'll always have these sorts of problems when you start trying to put animations next to each other in this way. But since someone else has already done these for us, then that's great. So we shouldn't complain that they're just a little bit inaccurate, and we should adjust our environment to suit them. Now, I just want to go back into the scene. Let's have a look at our bot at this point here. You can see he's now hanging off the edge of this railing after we've done a bit of shimmying. And if we continue to shimmy, we will get even more inaccurate as we move along. So what's happening here is that we've turned off the lerp that takes us back to where our little cube is. So this cube that's following us around isn't actually following us around anymore because we've turned off all of that code. So we need to turn our lerping back on. Now, the way to do that is to trigger an event to turn our is shimmy back to false at the desired place in the animations, which means we create another public function and call it from within the animation editor, just like we did with this standing up when we reached the top of the climb in the previous video. So let's create a public void end shimmy. And inside that, we will go is shimmy equals false to turn it off. Okay, and now at this point, that will then turn back on our lerping for us. So this end shimmy needs to be called as an event from our animation. So we save that code. Let's go back to Unity, to the animator. Let's find our animation. So this is now on left shimmy. We're going to go right to the last keyframe, right click, add animation event, and add in that end shimmy. And the same thing for the right. So find the right animation, go to the last keyframe, and right click, add event, and shimmy. Okay, so now let's just quickly run this and have a look. Jump. Okay, now this is another issue. We can see that that lerping is now working really nicely, but what's not happening is that the cube, if we go back down and find our little anchor, which is here, and turn the mesh renderer back on, when we shimmy, we come and snap back to this cube. The cube's not moving with us. So we need to employ that same code that we had before, where we were able to jump up anywhere along this container by working out where the bot was respective to the plane that runs through this cube. So we've already written that code, which makes it nice and easy for us. So all we do here is, if we go up and have a look at our grab edge code, remember that this was the bit that we added to make sure that we aligned that anchor cube with the position of our bot along the edge of our container. So if we just copy that, Control C, all of it, leave it there, and just redo it down here after we've finished shimmying when our bot's going to be in a new position. Okay, so it's exactly the same code. Now, this is actually not the best sort of practice for this, and we really should be doing this inside a separate function. But for now, it's the only two places we need this exact code. So just save that. Let's run it and have a look. Walk up to the edge, jump. Then we can shimmy across. And we have our anchor cube will be following us. If we turn that back on so we can see it. So it slides across with us at the end of each shimmy to make sure that we're aligned perfectly. And you can see in the scene view how the hands are now stuck onto there. Now, you can see an issue we've got here when we're actually trying to shimmy back to the right, that it's not working. Now, it's not working because this cube isn't moving over. Now, the only reason this cube wouldn't be moving right with our bot is that the ray that we're casting out of the bot to hit the plane is actually on, let's say it's on this side, the plane's running here, and the bot's ray is actually out here and running this way, which means it's never going to hit this plane, which is a bit of an oversight from my previous code. So what we should do really is create a much longer ray that runs through this bot in both directions rather just in one direction. So if you happen to be on this side of the plane, then it still will align you. And sometimes you don't pick these things up until you're actually debugging and playing around with the code to test it. So that's an easy fix. If I just go back into here, we need to go back into our code and adjust this position here of where that ray is starting, and have, instead of having it starting at the actual root node of the character, is that we started on one side and have it extend to the other side. Now, this is a really good illustration of why you should put repeating code in a function. So remember how this piece of code and this piece of code up here are exactly the same. Now when we change this code here, we have to go back up and change this code here so that we keep these lots of code exactly the same. So the better way of doing it is to create a function. So let's just put this in here, void move anchor. And inside that move anchor, I'm going to take all of that code there, delete it, put it in to the function, and then up in this grab edge, I'll just call move anchor. Like that. And I can also use that move anchor down in this bit here. So the adjustment we need to make for this moving of the anchor, we can just do it once up here. So I will start from adjusted position minus the anim root target dot forward, and then extend to the anim root target dot forward in the positive direction. And let's just save that. Let's go back into Unity and have a go at moving to the right. Okay, so now that's working in both directions for left and right. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is a dismount to get off of this hanging bar so we can walk around again